We're just about ready to display our mock repo on the running app. First, let's get a unit test for our HomeViewModel out of the way. We need the Arch testing artifact, which you can find on the Android X releases page under the Arch group. In your project level build.gradle file, add the version for this new artifact, and then we'll add the dependency to our Android X array. Open the build.gradle file for the home module and add this new dependency as a test implementation dependency. We're also going to be using the Google Truth library again, so add that as well. Now we can create the test file for our HomeViewModel. If you open the HomeViewModel file, you can use the built-in quick option to create a test. Use Command-Shift-A on Mac or Control-Shift-A on Windows or Linux and search for test. If you click that, you get the option to create a new test. This will be a JUnit4 test. We'll go ahead and set up the before method, and then we want to make sure this is in the unit testing directory, which is test, not Android test. Our HomeViewModel takes in an app repository. This app repository takes a GitHub API instance. We're going to continue using fakes instead of mocks, so let's set up the fake GitHub API class just like we did in the app repository test. We'll actually just copy it over. You could move these files to their own module so you wouldn't have to write the same code twice. We're going to skip that for now, but it's something to keep in mind, especially if you're using fakes instead of mocks. First, we'll copy over the fake repo API model, and then we'll copy the fake GitHub API class. We'll add a latent variable for our HomeViewModel, as well as one that will hold all of our emitted view state values. This will be a mutable list. In the before annotated setup function, create the app repository, passing in a fake GitHub API instance, and we'll initialize our view state values list as a new mutable list. And now we can create the view model, passing in our app repository, and we will just observe forever the view state updates live data and add each value to our view state values list. Now we'll add a test that validates we are getting the loaded view state. Since we load from the repository immediately on creation of the view model, we actually don't get a chance to validate that the first view state is loading. This is something we'll be able to come back to once we're using coroutines, as we have a little more flexibility in controlling the execution of our code. For this test, let's make sure we only had one emitted view state after our observer was attached. Since we use data classes for view states, I like to create a value of the view state I expect, and then ensure that my expected view state matches the actual value. This is much easier than comparing individual properties of a model with expected values. We will create a loaded view state with the single repo item that we expect, using values from our fake repo model. Remember, our recycler view data is a list of repo items, not the API models. Now run the test and we get an error. And this is because live data calls back on the main thread. That means that when we use them in unit tests, we need something that skips using the main looper, since that's not present. The Arch testing dependency that we added covers us there. At the top of the file, add a test rule with the annotation get:rule, and this will be a new instant task executor rule. If we look at it, it's pretty simple. It just immediately runs any runnables that would have normally been scheduled on a specific thread in an actual app. Now run the test and we see that it passes. Not a huge surprise. There's really not anything exciting happening in our view model right now. This test will get a little more interesting once we introduce coroutines and other states.